What's going on, YouTube? So yes, I truly believe that what YouTube is implementing now with the removal of the counter for dislikes on their platform could spell the end of YouTube as we know it. So we're going to talk about it. Before we dive into it, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover your favorite tech and video games. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Grant and Geek Show. Alright, so let's dive right into it. So the dislike button on YouTube has existed for a long time. It wasn't always that way, and I would refer you to MKBHD's video on the dislike button in order to get more of a history about it. But basically what is happening is they're going to be removing the number count, okay, not from the like button, so you can still see how many likes a video has, but you won't be able to see the amount of dislikes that the video has. Now, YouTube gives a couple of reasons why they're doing this, and I think both of these reasons are deeply flawed at best and completely disingenuous at worst. So let's start with what the like button allows us to do on a base level of functionality. So when you look at a video, you can see the like to dislike ratio. And whether it's accurate or not, it gives you some kind of an idea of how people generally are responding to the video. Likes meaning that it's getting more of a positive response, and obviously dislikes meaning it's getting more of a negative response, or that people disagree with what's being said or presented in the video. So whether it's a tech review like this, or a music review like Sea of Music, or a TV show review, you're able to see not so much whether people liked or disliked the episode or the product, but whether they thought the video itself was worth your while, worth your time, or whether it was something that people would just be reacting negatively to. So it's a very powerful tool where you can get a sense of a video from a glance. Now, of course, you could go and look at all the comments, but videos have thousands, even tens of thousands of comments sometimes, and in order to scroll through them all, it would take longer than the video, most likely. And even when you do that, you'd still have to go and tally how many good versus bad comments you're even getting in order to get a feel for what the general consensus is on the content of the video. So there really, effectively, there's no real way to do it without a like or dislike button, okay? Now maybe you could say that, all right, well, why don't we judge it by the amount of likes a video has? Well, that doesn't really work either. The problem with only having a like button is that it gives you no ratio. So with likes, you can see, okay, how many people watch the video, and then out of that, how many people give a positive reaction. But you can't really see how many people gave a negative reaction or felt strongly enough to give a negative reaction without looking into the comments. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. So on Twitter, MKBHD actually put up one of the YouTube Rewind videos. He tweeted it and said, oh wow, look, the video has 3 million likes. And I'm pretty sure Marquez knew what he was doing, of course, when he did this. But he says, look, it seems to be something that everybody liked. They really like the YouTube Rewind because I think it had like 3 million likes. Well, this change has not been implemented in every country yet, and some people screenshotted other countries where the dislike button was still active with the number count, and the ratio was ridiculous. Yes, the video does have 3 million likes compared to 19 million dislikes, and that is where the real problem comes in. So what it does is, much like Marquez, and I think, once again, he knew what he was doing there, he presented it as though the video was positively received largely because it had 3 million likes. But it's not until you contrast that with the amount of dislikes that the video has that you really get a bigger picture. And maybe if it was 6,000 or even, maybe if it was 6 million or even 10 million dislikes, you could argue, oh, well, some people are just doing a hate campaign and disliking the video. But when it's 19 million to 3 million, I mean, the bigger that ratio is, the more you can kind of say, okay, well, maybe people just don't like this video, or they're not reacting positively to this content presented on the channel. So that's the first main issue, is that it can allow brands and things to present a false idea of how something is perceived because you can't see the negative reaction. So then YouTube gave another reason as to why they're removing the dislike button. They said that it helps creators' mental well-being and prevents attack campaigns where people dislike things. Well, I'm just going to call that one out right there. I'm going to call the bluff because they still allow creators to see their dislike count behind the scenes in YouTube Studio, which is where YouTubers and creators manage their content. So they're not hiding or shielding them from anything. They're just shielding the public from seeing these things. The brands themselves will still have access to that information. So if there was any damage that they were getting by seeing these ridiculous ratios, sometimes positive or negatively for their video, they're still seeing it. They're not being protected from anything. It's only the public that's not getting access to this information, and thus we have less of an idea of how a video is performing in the eyes of the general public. Now, of course, sometimes when you see the like or dislike ratio, it may give you some sort of bias going into the video. Maybe you're looking with more scrutiny to find something bad in the video. But I think that's a necessary risk. I think that's just something you have to do, because the truth is, content, if it's powerful enough, can still change people's minds. Maybe they came in looking at the dislike ratio. Honestly, when I watch a video, that's not the first thing that I watch. Sometimes I look at the view count, sometimes if the thumbnail's interesting or the title. All of those things help me decide whether I want to click on a video. You can't even see the like or dislike ratio when you're just looking at a thumbnail. So it's not going to change in clicks. And then if the video is able to maintain that audience and keep people watching, well, then that would be a positive marker. Unless they hate it so much they leave a dislike and watch the entire thing, which can happen as well. But those were the two strongest things that YouTube was using as their arguments for having this. And the reason why I think these two things combined could spell the end of YouTube is that it ultimately hurts the creators. You see, if YouTube creators are not able to get more accurate feedback on their videos, because say people stop hitting the dislike button because they know it doesn't mean anything, well, then back on YouTube Studio, when YouTubers are looking at the video and saying, oh wow, this video does so great, look at all these likes, they're not getting an accurate picture of how their videos are doing. And so they won't be able to create better and better content. I always tend to think that the audience, the people know what they like and what they don't like for the most part. Okay, and typically when brands try and force content or do things that aren't in collaboration with their fans and in collaboration with their audience, it just ends up one-sided. And you need to listen to your audience. We got mad at Apple for doing that when they removed every port and just went with USB-C, right? And they listened. And here we have all the ports back, right? Same thing with the iCloud photo scanning thing, right? Apparently it wasn't a large amount of people, but it was enough where Apple said, hold on, let's take a pause, let's rethink some things, retool some things, we'll get back at it a little bit later. That is listening to the audience. You're cutting off YouTubers and creators' ability to listen to the audience, and that will lead to worse content, which is a bad thing for YouTube and Google, because worse content means less watch time, means less ads, means less ad revenue, which means less money. So, do I really think this will end YouTube? No, I don't think it will. I think it could. And that would only be if Google just doesn't listen to people. And it doesn't listen to the feedback that it's been getting. I mean, countless creators have made videos showing that this is not a good idea. This is a step in the wrong direction. So my video is just another one in those voices, but hopefully I could articulate some of those arguments in a way that really help them be solidified in your mind, so you can know exactly why I would stand against having a YouTube dislike counter button removed. So if you agree with it, guys, hit the like button. I do tech. It's kind of philosophical tech, kind of. There's a mind behind it. I'm an Apple fanboy. I acknowledge that bias. But, I want to think for myself in a way, for sure. So if you're down for that kind of content, as we cover your favorite tech and video games, stay tuned. Subscribe and click the bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granny Geek Show.